Hello and welcome to helpyourmath.com. In this video, we are going to talk about the definitions associated with polynomials, starting with the definition of a polynomial. A polynomial is an expression in which every variable present has a positive integer exponent. So that means that if we see a variable, either we don't see an exponent because it's invisible 1, or if it has an exponent, it's positive. It's an integer, so that means integer means we don't see fractions or decimals, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because it's positive, that wouldn't include 0 or the negatives. And this is strictly referring to any exponents of variables. The next thing we're going to talk about are specific types of polynomials. The first one is a monomial, and I know it's kind of weird that a monomial is a type of polynomial, but it does get lumped in. So a monomial is a polynomial that contains one term. If something has one term, that means there are no plus or minus signs, or it's the things in between the plus or minus signs. So a monomial could be also called a term, a special type of term. A binomial is a polynomial that has two terms. So we see one plus sign or one minus sign between the terms, and then it's a binomial. If a polynomial has three terms, we call it a trinomial. These are the three that we really focus on. Anything beyond that, so if there are 4 terms or 5 terms or 6 terms, we just call it a polynomial, standard polynomial. Okay, so we're going to apply these definitions of polynomial, monomial, binomial, trinomial, or maybe it's none of the above, and we're going to look at this list and we're going to put each of these expressions in their place. First up, we have 5x minus 9. So first of all, we're going to start with that polynomial definition. We want to make sure that whatever we're dealing with is a polynomial, and then is it a more specific type. So I see it, the only variable I see here is x. X doesn't seem to have an exponent, which means it has the invisible 1 exponent. 1 is a positive integer. So yes, this is a polynomial. And now, is it a special type of polynomial? Well, it has two terms. 5x is one term, minus 9 is a second term. So this particular polynomial is a binomial. We're going to put it right here in the binomial space. All right, next up we have 8x cubed. So we have x raised to the power of 3. 3 is a positive integer, so we're all good to go. This is a polynomial. I don't see any pluses or minuses. It must be a monomial. So we're going to put it right here in the monomial box. How about 7m to the 4th minus m cubed plus 14m squared minus 2m? Checking all the exponents, because I see 4 variables, right? There's 4 different m's. We have a 4, good, a 3, yep, a 2, and the invisible 1. All of those are positive integers, so this one is a polynomial. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 terms, so we're just going to put it in our polynomial rectangle. It's not one of the special 3 at the top. It's still special, though, because it's still a polynomial. Minus m cubed plus 14m squared minus 2m. All right, next up we have 6 minus 1 over x. So we're looking at this. I see the x, I don't see an exponent, so it has an invisible 1. However, because x is in the denominator, it actually has more than just an invisible 1. If we were going to pull it up so that it wasn't under the fraction, it would end up with an exponent of -1, because that negative is how we can get anything, any factor out of the denominator, is we take its reciprocal, which means we give it a negative exponent. Now I'm looking at the exponent, I'm saying that's not positive, that's negative. Therefore, this is not a polynomial. We're going to put that here, 6 minus 1 over x. How about 1 over 6 minus x? I see x. It has an invisible 1. There's nothing special about it. It's not in a denominator. The fact that 1/6 is a fraction is okay because that's not the exponent of a variable. So this one is a polynomial, and it's specifically a binomial. So that goes here, 1/6 minus x. Next up, we have the square root of t minus 9. The fact that t is under a radical means that it will not have an integer exponent. It will have a fractional exponent. So the square root of t minus 9 is not a polynomial, and that's because this square root could be written as t to the 1/2, which is not an integer. That's a rational number, but not an integer. Last up, we have c minus 2 times c plus 3. I would say, as it is, this is not a polynomial. It is the product of two polynomials, but what we're currently looking at, not a polynomial. We have c minus 2, that's a binomial, and c plus 3 is a binomial. And if we were to multiply it, it would become a polynomial. It would specifically be the one that's missing our trinomial friend. So just so trinomial isn't left out, we could have c squared plus c minus 6 would be one example of a trinomial. That would be a polynomial in 3 terms. This has been a look at the definition of a polynomial and related other meals that we see. This has been a look at the definition of polynomials and special types of polynomials. Thank you for stopping by.